For this project, I'll be building 2 sets of full-size bed frames inspired by a restoration hardware design. I'll be using a very special tool to accomplish the knockdown joinery, so make sure you stick around to see how I do it. So like many other builds, I'll be breaking down my 4/4 and 8/4 ash into more manageable sizes to prepare for the milling process. Part of this breakdown requires establishing a straight edge. So on the 8/4 material, my track saw setup doesn't quite reach the depth that I need, so I had to improvise by making an initial cut, flipping the material over and getting as close to that initial cut as possible, and then I would use a flush trim bit on the router to get that finished edge. At this point, the material was ready for face jointing, edge jointing, ripping, and planing. Once all of the material had been milled, it was time to glue up the panels for the side rails, footboard, and headboard. The headboard required more boards to be glued up, and to help assist me in the glue up, I like to use the biscuit joiner to maintain alignment. Though the step isn't totally necessary, I'm really glad I did because sanding a hardwood like ash is no joke. This material is one of the hardest woods, and sanding it takes a long time. Now that I've got all my pieces milled up, it's time to get to the good stuff. Remember that special tool that I talked about? Well, here it is. It's called the Lamello Zeta P2. If you haven't heard of this machine, it's truly an impressive machine that offers a range of applications. Full disclosure, Lamelo did send this machine to me along with an assortment of connectors, and I'm more than happy to show you how the system works for this application. Like a biscuit joiner, the Zeta cuts slots in your material with a proprietary mechanism causing the blade to move up and down at a rapid speed at the end of the plunge. This creates a slot for their proprietary connectors to slip into those slots. Though Lamelo offers several different types of connectors, I'll be using their clamex P14s. These connectors require an additional hole drilled out, which allows access for an Allen key to lock and unlock those connectors. These connectors are perfect for these bed frames as they will allow me to break down the furniture and reassemble on site. To get started, I'll need to lay out my cuts. Lamelo operates on a metric system, and since I'm using 3/4 inch material, this equates to about 19 millimeters. So that means I need to make my cuts with a depth of 9.5 millimeters in order to center my cuts on that material. The Zeta comes with an adjustable fence and several points of reference throughout the machine, which make the accuracy of the cuts super simple to line up. The same process will also follow for the thicker stock. Lamelo advises that one connector be used for every 10 to 12 inches, but since some of my panels were only 10 inches wide, I found it would be more helpful than harmful to have 2 connectors for every 10 inches. This is a bed after all, and from what I know about beds, people like to sleep on them for hours at a time. So a little extra strength doesn't hurt, especially if no glue is involved. Now once the slots are cut, you need to drill an access hole for the Allen key. Lamelo makes this little jig that slips right into the slots and perfectly centers where that access hole needs to be drilled out. The stop collar on the drill bit is also adjustable to help drill at the correct depth. I decided to make up a sample of how this system works for the upper portions of the frames, so you can see how simple it is to put together. After doing a dry fit, one drawback of this application that I discovered is that these connectors do come with a little bit of play, and since beds are intended to take heavy loads, I didn't want to take any chances and I didn't want to have any play in these joints, so I decided to add a dowel to every joint to discourage any opportunity for wiggle room in these joints. This method worked really well, and it also reinforced the joints. After I cut all of my joinery, which ended up being a total of 112 plunges and 56 connectors, it was time for finishing. My client was really attracted to the color and the restoration hardware design, so I suggested that we go with Rubio Monocoat's Cotton White. The benefits of this finish is that sanding only has to go up to 120 grit, which is definitely a bonus when working with ash. And it only requires one coat. It's a very simple process. First, vacuum the dust, spread the oil, buff it in with a white Scotch-Brite pad, then wipe off the excess with a paper towel, and you are done. Admittedly, this took a long time to apply the finish, but mind you, you don't have to do anything else after that. The result is a beautiful, smooth, and well-protected surface. If you have any questions about the build process or the Lamello Zeta, I'd love to help you answer those questions in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel and check out my Instagram and TikTok at PAX Woodworking.